Saturday afternoon was a return to old times. It was 9 years ago that famous one-on-one between Nat Fyfe and Patrick Dangerfield took place at the Adelaide Oval. Fremantle got the win that day as Fyfe polled 3 Brownlow votes and Dangerfield polled 2. But in round 22, Dangerfield, now playing for Geelong, was just about the best player on the ground in a vintage performance. He had 20 disposals, 11 clearances and a goal in the Cats' pivotal away win. His 7 disposal last quarter itself was fantastic. The now 34-year-old is still influencing games when it matters most, and since his return, Geelong have found their form. He isn't the only veteran in recent time that has wound back the clock and put in a dominant performance. We have to start with his longtime teammate in Tom Hawkins. He achieved a career best effort in 2023 at 34 years old. In round 7 against Essendon, a side late in his career Hawkins normally torched, he kicked a career high bag of 8 goals. Essendon had Brandon Zerk-Thatcher as their only real key defensive option for him. As you can see from these highlights, the huge frame and size of Hawkins just overpowered him in every marking contest. He kicked 4 goals within the first 14 minutes of the game and was the main reason the Cats shot out to a huge scoreboard lead. He followed it up with 2 goals in the second before the Bombers mounted a charge. But the lead would be safe, and with 8 minutes left, Hawkins kicked a difficult set shot to bring up his career high 8th goal. For the game, he gathered 16 disposals, 12 marks, 13 score involvements, and chipped in with 2 direct goal assists. The Geelong game's record holder is retiring at the end of the year and played his best football past the age of 30. Has any other 35-year-old played a better final, let alone grand final, than Scott Pendlebury in 2023? It's hard to think of anyone else. Deep into the third quarter, Pendlebury had played his part but wasn't hugely influential. He had gathered just 12 total disposals with a couple minutes left until 3-quarter time. It was when Bobby Hill chipped in board to him for a shot at goal that Pendlebury from that point on was the best player on the field. He kicked that goal to put Collingwood back in front. In the last quarter, he amassed 11 faultless disposals as he was the calmest player in what was a frenzied final term. Hugh McCluggage, who played a great grand final himself, was mesmerised by all of Pendlebury's fakes and spins, dropping to the ground. He then did a similar thing in a crowded stoppage near the wing, coolly lacing out a teammate in the middle of the ground. He was also the one who got the kick forward that led to Nick Dacos's handball and the Jordan De Goey long bomb from 50 metres to put Collingwood back in front. Pendles finished the day the 8th highest rated player on the ground in total, but it was his last quarter that was one of the best he has ever played. Isaac Smith is a finals and grand final specialist. Going into the 2022 decider between Geelong and Sydney, Smith already had 3 premiership medallions, all of which he had won during the Hawthorn three-peat. But at the Hawks' arch-rivals, Smith did have a quiet 2 finals. Combined in the qualifying and preliminary games, he averaged 18 touches, kicked 0 goals, and 3 inside 50s. He must have saved himself up for grand final day. You can't start much better than kicking 2 goals off the wing in a little over 2 minutes of game time. He was lined up on a very young Errol Goulden, and clearly his experience won out. Every time the ball went out to that far wing, it felt like Smith got it. The 41-6 score at quarter time pretty much signalled the end of the game. Smith gathered another 7 touches in the second quarter, taking him up to 15 by the end of the half. It would only get worse for the Swans, and Smith's performance would only get better. He kicked a massive left foot bomb from the 50-metre logo and just got so much of the ball. As Geelong went on to win by 81 points, it gave Smith his 4th grand final win from 5 trips. He was the 2nd highest rated player on the ground, putting up huge numbers. 32 disposals, 11 of them contested, 12 marks, 11 inside 50s, 4 intercepts, and 3 goals won. More importantly, he received the maximum number of coaches' votes and won the Norm Smith medal, just edging out his teammate in Patrick Dangerfield. A few weeks before his 35th birthday, West Coast champion Josh Kennedy had his send-off game. Round 21 of 2022 against Adelaide at Optus Oval was announced as his final game for the Eagles. Their all-time leading goal kicker had one final burst, just to remind everyone how dominant he was through his career. His first 3 goals of the game came in the first quarter, but have a look at some of these set shots. He was such a sharpshooter for his whole career, and from the distance and angles these are at, it puts a lot of current day forwards to shame. Adelaide did lead for most of the game, as the steady targeting of Kennedy eventually paid off. By the end of the third quarter, he was up to 6 goals. The game itself was still up for grabs, not that a win or loss would be a defining part of the occasion. He slotted his 7th to get West Coast within a goal, and a few minutes later kicked goal number 8. Adelaide would hold on for a 16-point win, but I don't think Eagles fans would even remember that. In total, Kennedy's 8 goals were just a part of a monster day. He had 15 disposals, 8 marks, 11 score involvements, and a 30.1 player rating, which was not only the best for the game, but the best for the entirety of round 21. His efficiency in front of goal was fantastic as well, as he kicked 8 goals from his 10 shots. It feels like Dangerfield is once again building nicely into the back half of the year. Not many other veteran on-ballers are so important to the way their teams play, but without Dangerfield, Geelong's midfield is pretty vanilla and lacks that explosiveness. He's on the same trajectory as the 2022 final series, where he performed great and won his first premiership. Travis Boken, Port Adelaide's wing, is quietly performing well, and although he isn't captain anymore, you can't tell me his leadership in that part of the ground isn't valuable. Kellen Ward has made an identical move to an outside role and been stable in the midfield, which through injury has been a bit of a revolving door for the GWS Giants. And then there's Brisbane's Dane Zorko, who's probably the best performing veteran in 2024 and the most important veteran to their team leading into finals. But all these players and more are critical to their teams and might have their own defining moments or games deep into September.